Good morning. I'm back with my squad this morning. Welcome to Web of Stories. My name is Melinda, and I am here with my weekly wrap-up. Yes, I am sitting in boring corner. Yes, I'm still in pain. Still dealing with knee issue. I think it's actually having to do with this nerve thing I've been dealing with for a couple months. It's just I have to get through it, and it's kind of a pain. I took an unplanned YouTube break this week because it hurt to sit here for long periods of time, so I wasn't watching YouTube or answering comments. I'm trying to get caught up. Yes, I could have done it from upstairs where I was icing my knee, but I could also read while I was up there. So yeah, that's how it worked out. But anyway, I'm back. I'm trying to get caught up. There we go. I probably will still limit my time down here, but give myself a bit more time to do some booktube stuff. So how was y'all's week? You saw a lot of mine because of mid-month book book bash. Sue commented, and I should have explained this in the vlog. Mid-month book bash is the second weekend of every month, and it's usually Friday through Monday, unless you're like me and you forgot until later, but it's usually Friday through Monday, and it's just a weekend to kind of concentrate a little bit more on getting some reading done. And then people vlog what they've done that weekend. So that's what that is. And it was started by Doris at Aldi Books. I should have had that in the last video. I'm sorry. So yeah, so you kind of know what I've been up to this week. A couple other things. Remember, I'm still getting collecting questions for my 1,000 subscriber Q&A. I'm planning to do the video in February, so basically you can ask me until the end of January. Any questions, it does not have to be book related. It can be whatever. I don't care. Just, however, I have all the contact information down below in the box, and also at the end of the video, you can also leave comments on videos and I will get them. So I am looking forward to answering your questions. And then the other thing is, this Wednesday, my announcement video for March on the Moors, which is a Bronte reading event in March, came out. So I will tag that video down below in case you missed it. I am so excited. I'm so excited. As I said in that video, I know a lot of people really love Jane Austen. I have my personal relationship with Jane Austen that I'm trying to repair, but that is neither here nor there. But the way so many people feel about Jane Austen is how I feel about the Brontes. Mostly. So I'm really excited for this event coming up. What else? I will say I'm dealing with a little reading. Well, I have, hopefully the second half of this month will be a little bit more devoted to some read-alongs that I have going on, booktube events. I have two that I need to do for this month, and one I'm a little frustrated with. The one I'm not because of the read-along, but because of circumstance. The one I'm not frustrated with is Mari Andrea's bit, and her book is Lost Children Archive. This is going to be my next print book as soon as I finish the Romantasy that I am buddy reading right now, which I will talk about more next week once I have finished. I've been really looking forward to reading this one. So this is next on the docket. The one I'm a little frustrated over, again, not because of the book club, is Angelia's endless drama reading of Pygmalion. Apparently, in my library, there's only one copy of this, and someone had it, and it was due, I think, January 2nd. Yeah, I'm still waiting for that book. Actually, it has come in. It just came in yesterday, but I had wanted to read it. Like, I had wanted to do Pygmalion the first part of the month, and then Lost Children Archive the second part of the month, but someone decided to keep their book longer. Like, as a library user, I really like the fact that we don't have late fees, except when someone else has a book out that I want them to have all the late fees. But anyway, so I will be kind of at the second half of the month doing a little bit more with that. Pygmalion is a play. It is not going to take me long to read. It's actually a reread for me. Plus it is the basis of one of my favorite musicals, which is My Fair Lady. So I am looking forward to rereading that. But those are coming up. So let me talk about what I finished this week. And I finished 2 books and DNF'd 1. And I talked about the DNF in my vlog, but in case you missed it, It was one that was not even on my radar, but I got a book page email and it mentioned it, and it is a never before released, not finished, book by Zora Neale Hurston called The Life of Herod the Great. And this really caught my eye because it didn't seem like the normal fare for Zora Neale Hurston. So I immediately went on Libby. One library, Multnomah County Library, had a 20-week wait. Washington County Library had it right away. So I got the Washington County Library one. That's my home library. And I started it. And this brings up kind of one of my issues about books like this. About this book specifically, I felt like it was not yet a final draft. There you go. That was, I'm sure, which leads to the question, does Zora Neale Hurston even want this to be released? Like, I don't know. But if she didn't, why do it? Like, comes all the way back to the Ghost at a Watchman fiasco with Harper Lee. That book, she didn't want released, and then a greedy lawyer released it, and then it was marketed as something it was not. It was marketed as a sequel to Kill a Mockingbird, which it was not. And it was just a thing. And I really wish that people, and by people I mean publishers, editors, lawyers, agents, would recognize that an author, their feelings, their wishes for their own books should continue after their death. So if they wrote a book and did not feel that it was ready for publication, maybe it's not ready for publication. And I'm not saying maybe not, Harper Lee specifically did not want Ghost at a Watchman released, so it should never have been released. I don't know about this particular book. However, I think releasing it as a book was a mistake. It could have been released with a lot of, context that this is what she was working on, whatever. Because you have a writer such as Zora Neale Hurston, and you get this book, which is not, I don't want to say it's not her best work. It's just not her finished work. And you don't present it as such. I don't know. Anyway, I quickly realized kind of what was going on with it, that it wasn't what probably she would have published. And it wasn't easy to read at that point, but also I just didn't feel right about reading it. Now, all that, of course, there is an asterisk to all that if we ever get the chance to read John Steinbeck's werewolf novel, I will read that. I don't care what his thoughts were. I want to read the werewolf novel. But anyway, that was my DNF on it. There you go. And it's just one of those things. I just am not sure that book should have been published. It didn't feel ready for publication. But so the first book I finished this week is I've actually finished this first. I finished these two books on the same day. So here we go. This was a buddy read with Sue, and I just finished watching Sue's video. And that is Writers and Lovers by Lily King. This has been on my shelf for a long time. And then Sue and I have been talking about doing a buddy read for a long time. And then she said, look, these are all the books I have that I want to read. Choose one. And this was one of them. And I said, let's do Writers and Lovers. So there you go. So I really enjoyed our buddy read experience. Sue and I have known each other for a really long time. We have known each other before BookTube because we were book bloggers together. But I feel like I got to know her so much better through the buddy reading process, which is why I really would recommend buddy reads to people. And this was a very good book in a lot of ways. I loved Lily King's writing. Her choice of words. She chooses her words in such a way that she can pack a punch without being flowery. And I so appreciate that. She also has this kind of like dry humor that I appreciate that kind of goes through her book, even when she's talking about things that are not funny. So I loved all that. So the premise of this is we follow Casey. Casey is 31 years old, as it says on the back of the book. Now, that's important because I had a little issue of my own making with this book. Anyway, okay, aside, this was the issue of this book. When I started this book, I was still reading A Killer in King's Cove, which is nothing at all like this book. Other than there is a young single woman at the center of it. And the young single woman in the center of A Killer in King's Cove is 26 years old. And I got it mixed up in my mind. I thought Casey was 26 years old. And then a historical event is mentioned in this book of happening in the past and how old she was at the time. So I did the math to figure out when this book was set. And I thought it was set like in the early to mid 80s based on, the mid to late 80s based on what that said. And then a little bit later, another historical event is mentioned in relation to the first one, that happens like in time with the book. So it's the present day of the book. And I remember this event. It was, I'm not gonna tell you what it was, because you'll know when I tell you the date. And if you don't know, just Google the date, it'll come up. August 31st, 1997. And so I'm like, okay, wait a minute, that math doesn't work. And so I totally freaked out. Like I was losing my mind. And I said, and Sue was behind me in reading. And I said, tell me if they ever say how old she is. And she's like, okay. And then she writes back, she goes, you know, it says on the back of the book how old she is. I was like, yeah, that was my own making. Anyway, that's what happens when you're a book polygamist, like I am. Anyway, Casey, 31 years old, single, living in Boston in 1997, which is when I lived in Boston. So that was another thing with this book, is that there were things about Casey that paralleled, I mean, there were different things for each of us, but paralleled our own lives, Sue's life and my life. So that was really interesting. But anyway, Casey is an aspiring writer. She has been working on a book for 6 years, and she's just struggling with it. She romantically is having issues. Her mother has recently died, which has been very, very hard for her. She works as a waitress in a kind of a shishi restaurant in Cambridge. And that's not an ideal job. So things are not going well for her through this. Now this book is really, it's called Writers and Lovers. So you would think it would be about writers and lovers, but it's actually about grief. And it's a really, really good book about grief. She really does that well. And we see Casey kind of work through her ish in this book, and really, really well done. So I will say this, Sue finished the book with kind of a better feeling than I did about it, because I did have an issue. I did feel the end was a bit rushed and tied up too neatly. I don't want to say more than that, but there is that. I still overall would recommend this book. I think the pros outweigh the cons. I have Lily King's short story collection up on my shelves, which I'm hoping to get to sooner rather than later because of this book, because I liked her writing so much. Bookish Best Friend, by the way, did not like this book. And so we had a little discussion about this. Her take was she thought that the main character was whiny. I didn't think she was whiny, and I don't think Bookish Best Friend really thought she was whiny. I think she just didn't like her taste in men, which I co-sign that. The guys are not, for the most part, the guys are problematic in this book. But there's also this thing, and I didn't realize this until I was talking to Sue. Bookish Best Friend, if I haven't mentioned this, is a doctor. And there are several parts in this book where Casey has to see medical professionals, and the medical professionals are not portrayed in a positive light. And I think that probably strongly affected Bookish Best Friend's feelings about this book. But anyway, really enjoyed this book, even though the ending didn't really work for me as well, but still recommend it. The other book is over here in this pile. Oh, excuse me. This is a library book. So last year I kept saying, I am going to read along with the Book Naturalist Book Club. I said that all year and never did it. This year I'm doing it. So the first book was this one, World of Wonders by Aimee, this person. I'm not even going to try. I'm just not. I could watch a video and I wouldn't be able to replicate it. But this book was my first 5-star book of the year. I thought was going to be Lovely One. And I think the only reason why this one was instead of Lovely One is I'm still reading Lovely One. But this is wonderful. It's memoir and essay and nature, and the writing is so gorgeous. And the author is a poet. So that I think really affects the writing. You can really see that in the writing. But just her insights when she takes they're usually creatures, sometimes they're plants, and like why she loves them. And then she goes and uses that to go into parts of her life. It is gorgeous. It reminded me of Animals Strike Curious Poses by Elena Passarella, which I read last year. This one was definitely more memoir-y than that one was, which is fine. I'm not comparing them. I'm just saying it kind of put me in mind of it. but this book, I loved this book so much. You can tell this is a library book. I have my own copy for my keeper shelf coming to me because I love this book so much. Wonderful book. It does not take long to read. The essays are only a couple pages. So it's a really, I read this at night and it was a really good book for that because I could read a couple and I never felt like, oh no, I'm so tired. I have to stop in the middle of these because none of them are super long. It is gorgeous. I definitely want to read her next book, which is Bite, 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 which I believe the Book Naturalist Book Club did last year or the year before, something like that, which I meant to read and didn't. But definitely, oh yes. And I can't remember what the February Book Naturalist Book Club is, but I do have it on hold because at the beginning of the year, I put all of the books except for the one that I sort of own. I gave it to my husband and he hasn't read it yet. So technically I don't own it, but I'm not sure he's ever going to read it, but that one. Anyway, I put them all on hold. So they just come off hold at the beginning of each month. So yeah, really loved this one. And even if you're not doing Book Naturalist Book Club, even if like nature writing is not your thing, I would 100% recommend this book. It is fantastic. So that was my week. I am planning to have more books finished next week. I'm not sure I will have Lovely One finished. It is a longer audiobook. I will have Road of Bones finished. I will have, I need to finish my Donna Leone book because my hold for the new Grady Hendrix just came in. So that's my next ebook I'm going to read. I will probably have that finished by next week too, because Grady Hendrix goes really quickly. So I will have some more finished books next week. And hopefully I'm hoping that I will have Pygmalion done. In fact, I think I'm going to go pick up Pygmalion today. We'll see. Anyway, that's my week. Thank you all for watching. Please remember to give me questions for the 1,000 subscriber Q&A video that will be out in February, but you can ask me questions until the end of January. And thank you for stopping by. Like, subscribe, join my Discord, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.